皆さん、こんにちは. This is week 2 of Year 8 Japanese for term 2. Starting from this week, we're going to start a brand new unit, and the topic we're going to be studying this week is called Going Places. This PowerPoint will cover 2 weeks of content for Japanese, and that goes from week 2 to week 3. Your goal is to learn and understand the content of the PowerPoint by the end of week 3 and complete all tasks. I recommend that you break up your learning within the 2-week block. For example, doing 10 to 15 minutes a day focusing on Japanese. So for the topic of going places, the learning intention is to communicate about going places in Japanese. And the success criteria is, I can say or write where I'm going in Japanese. The key sentence structure we'll be using in this unit is as follows. Place ni ikimasu. Place ni ikimasu. I would like you to practice saying this sentence by yourself. Now, place ni ikimasu means I go or I will go. Let me give you 2 examples of place ni ikimasu. We have Sydney ni ikimasu. I will go to Sydney. Tokyo ni ikimasu. I will go to Tokyo. Now, I would like you to try and write 3 sentences in your workbook using place ni ikimasu. You can use English words for places that you're going. For example, you can write Brisbane ni ikimasu. Now, we have learned in Unit 1 last term, tabemasu and nomimasu. And we also learned if you want to say, I am not eating, instead of tabemasu, we'll say tabemasen. Now, you'll be very happy to learn the same grammar structure applies for ikimasu. So if I want to say, I am not going to a place, instead of saying place ni ikimasu, I'll say place ni ikimasen. Place ni ikimasen. For example, Brisbane ni ikimasen. I'm not going to Brisbane. You also remember that if you want to ask a question of are you eating something, instead of tabemasu, we will say tabemasu ka, because ka is a particle for a question in Japanese. Once again, same thing happens with ikimasu. If I want to ask, are you going to a place? I would say, place ni ikimasu ka? For example, Canberra ni ikimasu ka? Darwin ni ikimasu ka? Are you going to Canberra? Will you go to Darwin? Now, I mentioned the word particle. Do you remember what they are from Unit 1 last term? If you don't, let's look at this Japanese English sentence. I go Japan February friend. Are you able to come up with the words that are missing in this sentence? For example, on, at, in, with. Now, if you had a real thought about it, I think you'll come up with a sentence very similar to this one. I go to Japan in February with friend. You'll see that the 3 words I have chosen to put into the sentence above is to, in, and with. And as you'll see, those 3 words are very important to be able to actually communicate to each other what are you trying to say. Now, particle is very similar to these 3 words, but in Japanese. You may remember from Unit 1 we have learned about those 3 particles, wa, o, and ka. Are you able to write a few sentences using all 3 of those particles in your workbook? Let me give you an example. John-san wa sushi o tabemasu ka? John-san wa sushi o tabemasu ka? As you can see, we have the particle wa, o, and ka. What do they each represent? Wa indicates the topic of the sentence. In this sentence, the topic is John. You can replace John with any other people's name, Nick-san wa, Tom-san wa, etc. O indicates the object of the sentence. In this sentence above, sushi is the object. You can replace sushi with any other food or any other drink. And finally, Ka is a question mark. It goes at the end of Japanese sentences to indicate a question. So the meaning of John-san wa sushi o tabemasu ka is, does John eat sushi? Now coming back to place ni ikimasu. If I have an example, Tokyo ni ikimasu, I go to Tokyo, what is the exact function of the particle ni? So ni here is a particle for this sentence, but what is it equivalent to in English? I go to Tokyo. So in other words, if I were to give you a definition for the particle ni indicates the destination you're going, and it is very much like the English word to. Ni goes after the destination or the word, the place that you're going in Japanese. For example, Sydney ni, Tokyo ni. Now these are the tasks you need to complete for week 2. For writing, you need to complete questions on slide 6 and slide 9 in your workbook. Also, we have assigned an education perfect task for you to do this week. It is called Year 8 Going Places Romaji. Please keep track of all due dates for your work on Google Classroom. And if you have any questions regarding the content or the tasks, feel free to email your Japanese teachers during school hours and we'll get back to you shortly. じゃあ皆さん、さようなら。